Hey folks, Prepper Princess. So I wanted to talk to you today about the upcoming rise in food costs. As many or all of you know, there have been some serious floods in the Midwest. Primarily, the most concerning states are Missouri, Nebraska, and Iowa. So these three states are in the top 10 states that generate food for the rest of the country. I've got it written down there. Major sources of food or growth are for corn, livestock, beans, dairy, poultry, eggs, and soybeans. So I want you guys to consider the fact that our food prices, especially with meat, dairy, and corn, anything that contains corn is essentially possibly could be doubling in price in the next couple of months. These floods pretty much decimated millions upon millions of acres. They've lost millions of cattle, millions of pigs, chickens, things of that nature. And the chickens not only produce meat, but they also produce the eggs as well. Same thing with cows. They not only produce beef for the beef industry, they also produce milk for the dairy industry. And with all of these decimated parts of livestock, decimated states, I believe that 70% of some parts of the states are completely underwater. There is going to be a issue with supply and demand. So this isn't an all-out economic collapse. This isn't WROL. This isn't Teotihuacan. This is something where it's very plausible that our food prices could essentially double within the next 6 months. So if you are like myself and you have a very strict budget on food, you need to make the proper preparations to assume that those prices are going to double. So if you spend $100 a month, take into account that you may be spending $200 a month when you go to the store, and you are accustomed to having beef at $3.99 per pound. Be ready to pay $6.99, $8.99 a pound for beef. Bread. So they also grow a lot of grains in these states, and bread may be going up in price. So maybe you pay $3 per loaf. Well, you can expect to pay $5, $6, $7 for a loaf of bread. The dairy industry, when it comes to milk, if you're paying $3 to $4 per gallon, be prepared to pay $7, $8 per gallon. If you have butter, you use butter and not margarine, you may have to switch over to margarine. Butter could be going from $3 to $4 up to $8, $9, $10. This is not hyperinflation. Hyperinflation would be more along the lines of a loaf of bread going from $4 to $100. This is not going to be hyperinflation, but it is going to more than likely, and I'm not a predictionist, I'm not I'm no sort of Nostradamus. I'm not predicting the future. I'm just assuming that from my personal standpoint, this may be what happens. But you're going to be looking at a lot higher prices. This also goes for pork. So a lot of pigs come from the Midwest. They are butchered and then shipped to other parts of the United States. So bacon, you know, if you like bacon and you pay $4 for bacon, you could be looking at $12 for bacon. So if you have the discretionary income at this point, I would highly recommend stocking up your freezer. Now, this is something I do personally on a 12-week cycle. I do know the cycles of the stores, and the stores have 12-week cycles, and I am always stocked up on everything that I could possibly need. And I have a point too in my refrigerator where I can go 6 to 12 months of meat just from using what's already in my freezer. It's a 14 cubic foot fridge, and it is pretty much just for a single person. I do have a partner living in the house, but she does not eat my food. So if you have a large family and there is extra room in your freezer, I would state that within the next month or so, pay really close attention to the ads. Go in, get those buy prices, stock up your refrigerator and your freezer until you are playing Tetris and you can no longer stack things because it's shoved in there so much. I mean, the worst that could happen with stocking your fridge and freezer is that you have extra food on hand. Best case scenario is you possibly beat a very large price jump and you can move things around and put off that large expense for 6 months or so while you are, you know, making certain arrangements and budgeting for the appropriate amount of food for your family. So again, it's going to be, I wrote it down, Missouri, Nebraska, and Iowa. These are three of the top 10 states that produce food in the United States, including corn, livestock, beans, dairy, poultry, eggs, soybeans, and grain. So, and I want you guys to think also, during the Great Depression, some of the biggest food staples aside from flour was corn and potatoes. And, you know, I think we'll be okay on potatoes. I'm not 100% sure. And don't forget that Florida and California are also extremely large producers of fresh fruits and vegetables, poultry, and meat. So I don't want you to think that we're going to be completely running out, but there is going to be a large shortage of these types of foods. And during the Depression, a lot of their main stuff was cattle, pigs, milk, corn, and grain. This was, of course, when farmers could have these animals and vegetables or grain producing fields in their home or on their property, and that's not really something that we do. So the food industry has condensed into very large agricultural farms, and unfortunately these extremely large agricultural farms have taken quite a hit this year. And I just wanted to touch on that, tell you my view on the scenario, and I think that you really should be stocking up, especially on beef and poultry, so chickens and cows, essentially. I hope that this is helpful. I really do hope that you take this into consideration. Don't forget to get your own Rocky t-shirt from Teespring. I will leave the link in the description below. Do what you can with what you've got. Prepper Princess out.